Okay, guys, so welcome to today. Mike and I were brainstorming this week on what would be a good topic and what would be beneficial to all of you for this year. And one of the things that we love talking a lot about, and a lot of people are the most interested in, are different methods of lead generation, because we all do some form of lead generation, and some of us do something that's very direct. Some of us work indirectly. And the really cool thing about having Mike and I here together is that we're both coaches, but we all both have a very different ways of lead generation. And both of us have really great success from two completely different methods. And so today we wanted to bring to you some value and give you guys some tips and tricks and ways that we got started with the forms of lead generation that we use. And so there's 4 of them that we're going to touch base on today. The first one is going to be door knocking. The second is going to be cold calling. We're going to talk about lead generation through your database, and we're talking about lead generation through social media. Before we dive in, Mike is going to start, and he's going to talk about his the 2 methods that he uses, which is door knocking and cold calling. And then the second half of today will be database and social media, which I will help touch base on as well. So we're going to start by doing a round table. Welcome, Svetlana, Taras, and Jane. Thank you guys for joining us today. Taras and Jane, I don't know if you have the capability of doing so, but if you can turn on your video so we can see you, that would be great. Perfect timing. We're going to just do a round table.
Mike, I'm having some problem with my video, so I'm working on it while we talk.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. You can hear us. That's great. We're going to do a round table first. And what we want to know from you guys is we want to know 2 things. The first thing is, what are the top 2 lead generation methods that you are currently using in your business? And how have you seen success from what you're using right now? 3. And the last thing is what do you want to try and implement or do differently this year in terms of lead generation? So what are you using? What type of results are you receiving? And what do you want to do different this year? So we'll start with Stacy, and then we'll go the way around.
Okay. Well, I don't have a very direct method, but I'll mention the top 2.
Yes.
I would say my direct sphere is probably my number 1 go-to. So meaning like family, friends, previous coworkers from wherever, and then reaching out to them whichever way I was before, like whether it's a phone call, text, getting together, Facebook Messenger, like any way we were, and then just talking about real estate or just talking about life and then somehow leading it into real estate. It's just a very natural conversation, like catching up. And then the second way I would say is probably just, oh man, my sphere has to be first. And then I've had a couple realtor referrals, which has been good. So just talking with other realtors and then me being thought of when they have something and sending it my way. Those have worked for me.
Awesome. Perfect. And then, so the next part of that question, so I'm just going to pause you 1 sec, Stace, because I want to fill in Lisa too, who just joined. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us today. I want to fill you in on what we're doing. So basically today is a topic of discussion for lead generation, and we're talking about 4 different methods. Mike is going to take the first 2, and I'll take the second half of today's class. And what we're doing is just doing a quick roundtable right now to hear from we're asking 3 questions. What are the top 2 ways of lead generation that you're using? What methods are you using right now? What has been your results of it? And what do you want to try to do differently this year that you haven't already done in your business? So Stacy just started. Thank you, Stacy, for your reply. I love that you said referral partnerships, because we forget about that as it being a business on its own completely, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're doing your lead generation with your referrals, are you asking for business? Is that how the conversation starts?
Sometimes, yeah, like I'm legit asking, saying I'm available. I'm, I want you to think of me if you have someone in my area, or if your hands are full or tied and you need some extra help, you know?
Beautiful.
And sometimes if it's not that kind of conversation, it's more just saying hello and letting them know that I'm trying to build my referral network, just more casual.
Beautiful.
You know, so I need an agent in the West and the East. I have a couple high school friends in Toronto that I know, and I'm just trying to expand a little bit, like even in the States, because I have people that I know that might be buying in Florida. So I don't know anyone down there. So I just need to find these people.
Perfect. And then what would you try and do different this year? Like, what are what is your one goal? What do you want to get out of lead generation this year?
Yeah, this year, I mean, I've tried the door knocking and the cold calling. I'm going to say I'm not a huge fan of the cold calling. I know you have to do a high volume in order to see the return. I don't know if it's my thing. I think I want to be more. I think my goal for lead gen is to be more consistent with going outside and door knocking.
Yeah, I would say that's a lot of our goal for sure, right?
The consistency of doing it. I don't mind when I'm doing it. It's getting out the door and doing it.
I agree, Stace, for sure. And I think to your point, like even myself, I have reflected on that this year too. And I think that there is a huge volume of business that hasn't been tapped in at the doors this year. And I think a lot of people are moving. So we try to we want to do the things that everybody else isn't doing. That's how we're stay successful. So while everybody's jumping on the social media platform, this side's open field, right? And so I think what we're going to see different is while everybody's trying to get this platform online, there's this generation behind us that needs to downsize or needs to sell because they can't afford their home anymore and are potentially not online. So those are our sellers. Those are people that have equity, that have money, that have a house, right? Although we're advertising to our social media and we think it's an easy fix so that we don't have to hit the doors or that we don't have to pick up the phone, that's a huge target that people are monetizing on right now because nobody wants to do it, right? So I agree with you in that sense too. And I think that's also a personal goal of mine is to go more towards the doors and get out of my comfort zone of trying to stay online instead of, right? Like just mix it up. But thank you for your feedback. That's amazing. So we'll pass it on now to Nat. Nat, I would love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, so on our team, we primarily door knock. We try to do 400 doors a week, 100 a day for 4 days, and that is pretty consistent. I would say that's like our number one lead gen strategy. Second,
You guys knocking this week?
No, we're gonna take like either a week or two off, just like kind of move back into it.
Yeah.
The work from home stuff and COVID. And secondly, I would say that I partnered with a mortgage broker and he referred me a bit of business last year. So that was probably my second gen avenue. And I would like to get more comfortable with just asking my sphere for business. That's something that I kind of hesitate doing. I don't want to like be pushy and bug people that are like in my social circle or just outside of it or even family. So I kind of lean away from that, but it's something that I would like to get more comfortable and like how to do that in 2022.
Love that. That's a very common thing too. Even I struggle with that sometimes because it is kind of weird, right? You don't want to come across as like you're friends with people. You don't want to come across as like a salesperson to them, right? And so I do find that struggle every so often, but solving it is literally funny enough, is what Steph was talking about yesterday, is just like literally having a conversation to them about everything but real estate. Like literally talk to them about anything but real estate. And somehow they still just like manage to get it back to real estate, which is great for us. But it's not like, okay, I'm not like specifically asking you to send me a referral, right? I'm not in your face. Like I sent a happy birthday text to somebody, an old friend of mine that the last time I saw her was like 2 years ago. And I just sent her a happy birthday message on Instagram 4 days ago or 3 days ago. And I just before this call, I got off a Zoom call with her sister who's looking for a rental in Newmarket. Right. And now we're like trying to get her to buy instead of renting. And that was just from me sending her, hey, happy birthday. Right. And it does do magic, like just being authentic.
Very nice. Yeah.
I would love to hear from you too, hun. So you can go ahead next. I would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
Go ahead, Rachel.
So basically, like Natalie, we mostly door knock. I'm on the same team as her.
Mhm.
And then I would say my second main way of lead gen, it would be social media. And yeah, basically door knocking has been pretty successful. I would say all of my like hot leads have been from there. Same with listing appointments. And for this year, I would like to do more Facebook campaigns, and then just being comfortable with reaching out to my sphere as well. Yeah.
That's great. So like more ads, you're saying, right? Like to try ads.
Mhm.
And how is your success, both of you? I would love to know how your success has been at the doors. Are you finding those conversations to be a little bit easier than they were when you first started?
Definitely getting more comfortable with it.
Yeah, with more knowledge, it's definitely been helpful, and practicing scripts every week has definitely been helpful as well. And also, once you get somebody who's very positive, it all makes it easier for the rest of the day too. So that can be also helpful.
And
You guys
I
go
actually
together?
have a question. Sorry, Mike. I just have a quick question. So here's the one reason why a lot of people don't want to go to the door. And I think that's the idea that you're bothering people. Do you find that most people are receptive to you? You know, you guys have, you come, these beautiful girls are coming to the door. They're like, what do these guys want from me? Right.
Well,
So, right. If you're coming with value.
Yeah, a lot of time Natalie and I, we get the comment being like, oh, like, are you guys old enough to be a real estate agent?
Like
So,
always.
yeah,
Always.
so
Really, eh?
That's horse shit. I would be like, screw you.
I just try to make a joke of it, like, oh, I'm not as young as I look. But it's 50-50,
Wow.
I would say. Like, some people are really happy, I guess, just with COVID because we've been in lockdown. They want to be social and everything. And then some
Love
people
it.
have been like very closed off and just like, what are you doing here? So it is kind of hard to get over that limiting belief of I'm not bothering them.
And I love that they actually said that comment to you, because here's the thing, like you caught them off guard, right? So I find in the mind, like had you have been some guys, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like an agent that's like your stereotypical ba-ba-da-ba-da, like, you know what I mean? The same guy coming to my door, you like kind of trick their mind. They're like, what? And they want to listen to what you have to say, right? So in a way, it's actually beneficial that they think that way of you, because think of like things like TikTok. When you get a bad comment or you get a bad review, that's when you're getting all these raving fans because they want to hear what you have to say. So it's almost gonna work in your benefit when people throw you off, they get thrown off guard, like, wait, what are they really here for? And then quickly they want to know what you're there for. So in a way, it might actually work in your benefit that they feel those feelings because they're more open to listening to what you have to say in a way, right? So good for you guys, though. That's amazing. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go round table because I want to be able to give enough time for everybody. So Svetlana, I want to hear from you because I know the last few months you've also been trying to tap into your database, right?
Yes. So I would say I used to use last couple of months of the past year, it's referrals and warm calling. And I like to try traditional door knocking and probably pre-construction condos I like to try. Because many young friends of mine, they are interested to buy something from builder.
Right.
And I understand what it's not sphere of, not the sphere of influence or pool of clients, but at least something I can give to my clients, something new I want to try.
Something of value to bring to your database.
Yes. Yeah. Also, if talking about media, I feel comfortable with Instagram. I don't like Facebook. I don't know how it would work because I'm very introvert person. I don't like to be out, but I guess I'll do it very business oriented.
Yeah. So today we'll actually talk about other forms of lead generation too. So hopefully that the goal of this is to hopefully inspire you to try something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that today. And for Lisa, if you could also share with us, I don't know what type of lead generation you use, but I would love to hear from you.
So up here, it's a little different. I know Haley and John have had some success with door knocking. Haley more so over in Owen Sound, which is about a 40-minute drive from here. John was doing it in Port Elgin, and I don't know that he was getting much success here. So I don't usually door knock around here. A lot of my, after we went through, was that on Tuesday, Mike? We went through where our business came from. I went through mine. And it's basically a third between Sphere, leads from the team, and then agent referrals.
Nice.
Right now. So that's where a lot of my lead gen is to my Sphere, whether it's on social media or just connecting face to face or through text messages. And then working social media as well, commenting on friends of friends stuff, or commenting on friends of friends comments on friends things. Makes sense in my head. I know I'm not making much sense to you guys.
No, I get it. That makes sense.
So that's where a lot of my lead gen has been. What I want to do this year is really pop into the golden letter and do a lot more of that, more targeted. I'll do the basics of what's in the golden letter, but do it specifically for a farm area, because we have little pockets of cottage communities that I want to target for my buyers that are looking in specific areas. And I also want to do just listed and just sold targeted marketing for, like, what do they call it? 10, 20, 10 houses on either side and the 20 houses across places that have just sold.
Yep.
So that's what I want to get at doing this year, where I want to see if that'll benefit.
Yep.
My lead gen.
That's amazing. So, yeah, like the one common thing I find is that, like, those of us who are on a team do get the benefit of having a bit of business come from their website, right? Or a platform that they're using, which is a huge benefit, like, for some people who join teams. And I know that that's why a lot of people like to be on a team, because at least they have a source of income that's kind of guaranteed, right? Yeah. Which is a huge plus. So that's been like the common response I find, like, even on some of our WhatsApp chats that some of us are part of. I think that tends to come up a lot. And so this is why when teams do charge that split or whatever that looks like, it's because, like, we know they are providing some sort of value for sure. And there is value of a team. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that. And I like that all of us have something a little bit different. If you notice the pattern, we're not all the same. Not all of us are receiving business the same. And some of us are doing things, are actually mixing both the direct and indirect. If you notice that pattern, we're using both, because there is no one right way. We have to add different elements, because if you notice, like, if you're only doing database, I find that every 5 years, you need to find something else to add, because those same people aren't moving likely for 5 years. So it's great that we're also adding different elements. Hi, Jane. How are you today? There we go. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Sorry about that. My video stopped working.
That's okay.
So yeah, for me, I purchased leads through Sync. I bought kind of a system last year. I finished that December 31st. I gave it up. I still have a lot of those leads that I'm working with. Now I joined a team, so I'm using Agent Locator with Melissa's team. And this year, the plan for me is to really work on social media.
Are you on it? Started. You're kicking ass so far.
I did start. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed.
I did.
Sorry, I missed that whole part. Fill me in, Jane. So
just social media. I want to focus on some social media this year as a secondary approach.
Are you on a team, Jane?
Yes.
Is that something new?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Now I'm filled in.
Just a few months, like a couple of months. So, and Melissa's going to do a lot of advertising and that kind of stuff. So, and she has Agent Locator. So we'll be doing that for lead gen. And then I want to personally focus on social media, try to build a following at least.
Fantastic. That's really great, Jane. You actually had business though before joining a team. So, right? Like you've had a lot of your
Little
own
bit.
stuff. Yeah.
A
So,
little bit, not enough.
and that came from, and so there you go. There's another value proposition there, right? So this is why, like, I am a solo agent, guys, but I do highly respect teams as well, a lot, because I see the value there, right? And so it's almost like I said, it's almost like that an extra piece of layer that you can add to your business. And although you might be spending in the forefront, you get it back on the other side. So good for you, Jane. That's really great. I love those goals. I think you'll do really well because you want to learn. So
Well, another form of lead gen that I want to focus on also is just community connection.
yes,
And it's difficult to do right now. I do have it in my plan to, I'm thinking about things I can do, charity work, or maybe the board of trade, although I don't know if that's any good, or, stuff like that.
Love that.
love that.
I can't do that really right now. So I've sort of put that on hold and focused on social media right now.
Good. And it's one thing at a time, right? And that's like the whole purpose. Like every single one of us have one thing that we're going to challenge ourselves with that are not comfortable to us. If it's comfortable to us, we're going to do it anyway. But what else can we do, right? And so we all have a goal of something that we want to try different. I think that's a great start, though. Thank you for sharing with us. I really appreciate that. Hi, Michelle. I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on. So today we're talking about lead generation, and Mike and I are going to just give some tips and tricks on methods that we are using that have been very successful in our business over the last few years. But we wanted to ask everybody to do a roundtable on what they're using right now that's working and the result that you're getting, and what do you want to try different this year? What are you looking to expand on?
Okay, so you would like me to share?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so outside of real estate and inside, I need to improve my computer knowledge, my skills. Mike did a great, this morning, he did something with Google Drive.
Yeah.
So I was playing around with that. I kind of figured it out. I didn't know how to do the squares exactly, but for me, I have older systems, but I need to update to new systems. And you said something this morning, right, Mike, that I really resonated with me. It's like, yes, we know what to do in our head. I'm a dinosaur as far as a realtor goes, but everything relies on me. I've farmed out my social media, which has alleviated a lot of pressure from me. So I'm pleased about that. And I think if I get my systems in place and more computer tech savvy, I think that'll propel me better, because most of my business is probably 90% is database and people that I know and friends of friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm not a cold contact person partake. My farm does quite well with me with referrals, but I have a broken ankle again. Now this is my third time, so I won't be door knocking until this is all over anyways. But
so that was my question, Michelle, because I'm very curious to ask you to know this. So so you talk a lot about your farm area. How long have you been working your farm area for? How many years?
I've lived here since 2008, and I was like what I used to say, an undercover agent. Nobody knew what I did. And that's a big, big mistake. And now, I mean, I'm fully branded when I walk. I have my clothing is the appropriate paint color, crowns on things. I always have business cards. I always keep the sales and the list at the end of the month from before in my pocket, so that if I meet somebody, I've got it, it's in my head. So I keep it with me.
Good for you. Like, you see, that's like, I know you're saying like your methods are a little bit old, but like in a way we kind of still need that. And so
I think
that's why
a
we're all
lot of it
here.
is service driven that way. And unfortunately with COVID, we're not able to get that close with people.
Right.
And so I'm changing from paper to digital, and I'm struggling with it. I'm struggling.
It's going to be a struggle, but you're going to get through it.
I'm not a quitter. quitters never will win, but I'm not the fastest. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. So I got to sharpen my blade. Kirby says you got to sharpen your axe. So that's kind of what I've been working on.
Good for you. That's really great to hear. That's going to be a challenge for sure, but we have to grow, right? And there are going to be a lot of growing pains. Even for me, Michelle, like, I don't know if you missed it earlier, but I'm going to be very transparent. Like, I do struggle with door knocking. It's something that I try to do every single year. It's not comfortable for me, which is why I don't do it. And so we all have to try to get out of our own way. Really, we're in our own way. And so we can all relate to that struggle for sure. But I think you'll do really well, because I think it'll help so that you're not continuing to injure yourself, at least if you do some of it from home, right? But that's great. So Tony is next. She's on
She
here.
threw it up in the chat.
Yeah.
She wants to work on her sphere, I think. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so she said that she uses her sphere, like many of us do. And she also wants to try door knocking, cold calling. I want to try door knocking, but cold calling is not for me. Right. So she also says, I'm working my business contact leads because she's still working full time. So she's finding a way to get it done.
Nice.
Which is great. And then one more, who's next here? Did I do Svetlana yet? Terrace as well. I'm wondering if he can hear us.
Yeah, he should be here. He could hear us. I believe he just has to listen without the camera. But he did message me earlier.
Okay.
Like,
there he is.
There he goes. Yeah.
I have a chance to talk right now. Sorry, I'm kind of in the middle of something. That's why I have to go without a camera. Yeah, I can share my thoughts as well. So I'm not sure if you heard it. I wasn't very active previous year. I started around the 8th of April and beginning of May, but I basically wasn't working too much on the business. We just had a couple of transactions, and the plan for this year was concentrate mostly on the door knocking. And I was actually hoping to start this week, but like Mike said, we need to wait at least a week or so. From previous experience, I'm not very comfortable with the cold calling because mostly it's not the greatest experience. When you door knock with the people, it's pretty clear right away, and you see the person in front of you. You see who you're dealing with, and for me it's much easier. And the second option we will try to concentrate is social media.
Those are great goals.
Love it.
Seems to be that a common trend today is that social media comes up a lot, but door knocking seems to be one. I didn't hear many people say cold call. I actually don't think I heard one person say cold call on today, Mike.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah.
Most people want to go to the doors, which is actually kind of interesting. It's like people would rather see somebody face to face than try to get them on the phone, right? Which you might think in the back of your mind that it's easier to do it the other way because you can maybe get more contacts if you're on the phones. So we have 30 minutes left. Mike, if you could do like 15 minutes, I know it's so hard to do everything.
No. Yeah, it might not even be enough for me.
Calling and door knocking in 15, and then I'll take the other half. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll talk a little bit about cold calling because you guys, not many people seem very interested in it. I totally understand. Like cold calling is, what's a good word I could use? Dry as hell probably is the best.
Dry as hell.
Very difficult.
Good one.
Very difficult. And you really got to commit. But I'll show you a story from this morning's cold calling session that I did. Okay. I'm cold calling around, and unfortunately this was a bad conversation I had, but it was an interesting one. So I called the guy in Sharon, and he had said to me on the phone this morning, he goes, I get these calls all the damn time. I'm not selling my property. I have 100 acres here in Sharon.
Wow.
And I don't want to sell it. And I was like, hey man, listen, totally accept that. I'm just cold calling the area. No big deal at all. Right. He goes, it's worth a lot of money. And I know that for sure. But for the time being, I'm going to hold tight. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So I went and looked up the guy's property because I have his address now, right? Because I have him in my system and I have his name. And I looked up his property, and he has 100 acres in Sharon that is not on the conservation. Okay. It is flat land.
No.
I looked at a comparable property across the street that sold. That was 123 acres. It sold 3 years ago for $80 million. This guy's property is probably worth about $100 million. Okay. And he's just sitting there. On the phone, he mentioned that he was looking at the number. Potentially, if he was going to sell, it would have to be, He goes, the number would have to be upwards of 80 million, right? And that's what kind of piqued my interest, of course.
Get it, Mike? Before I do.
So granted, you know, it wasn't a great conversation, but now I know where this guy lives. I know this guy's phone number. I have his information. I have his name. And I know if I come across a builder that's looking, or maybe I approach a builder and I say, hey, listen, I know a guy that has 100 acres. He said he's not interested in selling, but if you brought him 100 million, maybe he would be interested in selling, right? Now there's that opportunity, right? And again, like I said, it wasn't the greatest conversation I had, but now it's that guy. I'm like, screw it. He's going in my follow-ups, man. I'm calling that guy every 3 months till the day that I die or he dies. And yeah, why not, right?
Perfect.
Now, there's a couple conversations you get that are great. People will say, yeah, we want to sell or we don't want to sell, right? It's kind of like door knocking. The advantage of the cold calling is you can get through more contacts faster and you don't have to do it when it's freezing cold outside, like a day like today, right? True. So I'm in my office, it's warm. I called, I went through 25 people today. It took me about 2 hours tops, right? And that was straight contacts. I dialed like 150 people.
Mike, what do you look for an area or do you just use Mojo?
Yeah, so the two programs I use, and this is the super important part, is I use telelistings and I purchased the numbers. So I purchased a package where I can download all the numbers. So then I went through all the municipalities that I work in, from Richmond Hill all the way up to pretty much Oromodante, Aurelia, and as far east as like Uxbridge. And I pretty much just downloaded all the numbers as much as I could. And I downloaded it into my second program, which is Mojo. And Mojo essentially is organized in different areas. So I have Newmarket, and then I have Newmarket split into like 5 different areas. And then I have like Aurora, and it's like 2 areas, and then Keswick and so forth. And I literally just have a list of all the lists that I have. And I just start at the top. And let's say it's Newmarket 1. Okay, I call that till it's done. And then I go on to Newmarket 2, and then I go on to Newmarket 3. And I just work my way through everything. When I'm done, I just go right back to the top, because that will take me like, 4 months to do, right? Just and that's full time.
I have a question. So how much of your business do you think is coming from cold calling on your team?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was kind of leading towards that. So in 2019, I was accounting for about 40% of my business coming from cold calling.
That's a lot.
In 2020, as soon as the pandemic hit, those numbers dropped like way down, like probably about 10% max, right? So it's not a lot right now, because the fact that the actual physical appointments are taking a lot harder to book, because people are very hesitant to book those appointments now, right? So it's very difficult to convert with cold calling. And that's something you seriously have to consider when looking at whether or not you want to do it or not, because the conversion on it is very, very low, right? Door knocking is a great opportunity because you actually get to physically meet the person and they get to see your character, right? And then you can build a better relationship with them that way.
Mike, are you limited to non-cell phones, or do you have a way to get the cell phone numbers?
No, unfortunately, I'm limited to non-cell phones for now. There will come a time, I know it, that when the home phones start to die off, the cell phone numbers will start to come up. Because the other thing, and that's actually a great point, Jane, the other important thing is typical people go to work, right? They don't have their home phone on them, right? So the people that you are speaking to are either elderly people who definitely aren't going to want to meet you right now, right? Like all old people are not in the mood to meet somebody face to face, right? They're just with COVID, they're too scared. And then you get the crazies, and the crazies will meet you, no problem, but they're crazy, right? And that happens a lot. And a lot of clients are a pain in the ass because of that. However, that presents you with the opportunity to charge maybe 6%, right?
Right.
So the programs you need to run cold calling is telelistings, Mojo. Telelistings is just a subscription for 1 month. That's all you need. Mojo, you purchase it per month, and it's a dialer. And essentially from there, you're going to reach out to our office. They have the 905 do not call list. You're going to access that key, put it into your telelistings account, and then you'll be able to sync over all the proper numbers. You're not breaking any laws. Mojo, that's pretty much it. And then, you do your dialing. The important thing as well is if you are using Mojo, you do need a US calling number. Because the program requires you to call a number from the US. And if you don't have US calling, I promise you, you will regret it. I know Michelle Terza, when she first implemented it, she had her admin meet with me, and I taught her how to do it, told her about the US calling, all this stuff. She forgot to purchase the US calling. Within 1 day, she racked up a bill of about $800, right? So that's steep and that's fast. It's like $1 a minute or something like that. Like, it's crazy amounts of money. So you cannot do it without the US calling. Now let's flip over to door knocking. Okay. So door knocking, very much different. We've been implementing that a lot this year. We've had great success with it. So the conversion on that has been a lot higher. We've had a lot more higher people coming into our database. So from cold calling, we'll see about 10% of people that we add their information into our database. Door knocking, we're about like 20%, right? So it's a big difference. We're almost double. Now, granted, it takes us a lot longer to hit the numbers that we need to hit, but at the end of the day, it's working out because we're building those great relationships and we're farming an area. And that's what it's about. It's about farming the area. Steph brought up the other day on our coaching call with Dylan, and I love this, is that Wayne once said, Wayne Clements, we're in the job of booking appointments.
That's it.
We're not in the job of getting leads. We're in the job of booking appointments. And that's such a good point, because it doesn't matter how you get to the appointment. We're just in the job of booking them. So 100% you to do it, you just got to book it, right? If it's cold appointment, do it. If it's door knocking, just do that, right?
Only focus on the appointment.
On the appointment. Yeah. It's so important to get the appointment. And now the thing about that is when we go out there, no matter what it is that we're doing, cold calling or door knocking, we have to do the same, like it's the same structure. So we need one to be consistent. So we have to, if we're showing up at 9 o'clock, that's when we're doing it, 9 o'clock, right? If we're stopping at 11, let's stop at 11, right? We have to have rules set out for ourselves. So when we go door knocking, if we knock on 50 doors and not a single person answers the door, do we stop? Is that it? Do we go home? Because then it's like, well, what the heck, right? So do we have a minimum amount of people we need to talk to per day? That's what we do in our team. So for cold calling, minimum amount of people, you got to talk to 25. Same with door knocking. Now, let's say we go 25 doors straight. Every single person opens the door and you're done within half an hour. Should you really be done? Maybe not. So you got to at least talk to 25 people and you got to at least knock on 50 doors, right? If you're not doing both of those, what are we doing? Right? So if we're knocking on minimum 50 doors, we're talking to 25 people or whatever it is, like in most cases, the conversion on knocking on doors is a bit tricky. You'll get about like 20% of the people open up. So it's not an equal, it's not, those 50 doors won't get us that 25. It will take us probably about 75 doors just to get 25 people to answer, right? Same with cold calling, it's 20%. So if I call 100 people, I will only speak to about 20 of them max, right? But it's important that we set these for ourselves, because with that, we're then able to forecast our business. We're able to see where it's going to go. And we can then know that if I want to double my business, all I got to do is double my numbers, right? And you're able to look back. So the other important thing, while I got the 5 minutes left, that I'm going to kind of highlight in this great book of MREA that I love and I always talk about. I noticed, I think it was Lisa was saying she would love to start focusing more on, circle prospecting or doing just solds, just listed. So that's what we call circle prospecting, right? So you pick one neighborhood. This is what we do for our door knocking. We literally pick a sold. It doesn't have to be Keller Williams, but we typically go with the Keller Williams sold listing. So if you guys sell a listing in our area, I can guarantee if you don't door knock it the next day, I am there door knocking it, right? So if you're not going to do it, I am. And we literally pick that sold listing. We print it off, like we just print off the sheet. We put it in our book. We go around and we bring off this little thing. It's the most common thing you'll see. The girls, Natalie and Rachel, they both have the same one. It's very, very common. And we just put this in everyone's door and we just talk about, hey, good morning. My name is Mike. I'm with the local real estate team here in town. We're just doing some work in the area. Just want to let you know, one of your neighbors' homes recently sold at a great price. Are you guys interested in selling? Right? They say yes or no. We go into our follow-up script and we try to get their information, right? And then we put it into our database. But a really cool thing to know, okay, how much money can I set aside to do circle prospecting or to do that is in this book, they actually have a breakdown, right? And that breakdown, it's different if you're on a team, and if your team will cover it, that's even better. But you should know what your team is going to cover or what your team, how much money they're setting aside for this. So on page 193, it has the breakdown of all of your things. So they say an average real estate agent should have 60% of their income should be set aside for operating expenses, right? Now, we don't always have 60% operating expenses, but they set aside 60%. And of that 60%, 10% of that is set aside for lead gen, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I make $100,000 this year and I take 60 grand of that and I set that aside for operating expenses, and I then take 10% of that, $6,000, I have to do all my lead gen with $6,000, right? Most of us don't spend that much on lead gen at all. But if you did imagine the impact that will have on your business.
Of course.
So that could be cold calling. It could be door knocking flyers. It could be circle prospecting. It could be mailers, whatever it is. But that is the rule of what you can spend on it, right? If you go over
say that one more time, Mike, for people that didn't understand it. So
yeah,
when you're doing
total amount,
yes.
Yeah. So total amount, let's say you make $100,000 next year.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take 60% of that and set it aside for operating expenses. Now, again, if you're on a team, you won't be 60%. I promise you that. And most single agents, it's not that high either. But of that 60%, you have categories like, you know, salaries for admin, you have lead gen costs, you have all these great things. So of the 60%, the set amount that is associated for lead generation is 9.2%. So just shy of 10%. So of that $60,000 you've set aside for that, 10% of that should go towards should go towards lead generation, right? Whatever it is that you do to lead gen. So for me and our team, for every, let's say a team agent comes onto my team and they generate $10,000. If they're on a 50-50 with the team and they generate $10,000, I have to take 6,000 of that, put it aside. And of that 6,000, I take 10% of that, which is $600. And I put that towards lead gen for the agent, right?
Yeah.
So that they know that, okay, we're going to send out mailers, we're going to send out social ads, we're going to send out all this stuff for your sale, for your deal, right? And that is the purpose of that is to build their business, right? And to get them more leads, right? Just like I do with myself, right? A certain amount of every one of your deals should go towards getting your next deal, right?
Beautiful.
I'm right on the dot.
15
minutes.
Did that make sense
for
everyone?
Yeah, it's a lot. And I totally understand if it doesn't make sense to you guys. And I can teach a whole other class about this one time. But it's just like, I know Lisa mentioned it and I was like, shit, I gotta bring it up. It was on my mind.
I love that 10% rule. And we sometimes forget that, yes, you're right. We do need to, although we don't want to have expenses, we have to, if we want to keep scaling forward. Right. But yeah, so Mike, for anybody that wants to learn to door knock, like your team sometimes allows them to shadow once in a while.
Yeah.
I know other teams in our office will allow you to shadow door knocking if you're in a position where you just want like one day, a couple hours, show me how to do it. There are teams in our brokerage that are very generous of their time and will allow you to just shadow with them.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I noticed, Lisa, in the chat there, you said it's a little tricky to door knock in that area, and that's totally understandable. So a good strategy for you would be maybe to actually just do mailers, right? To do mass mailers and to send those out. And it's it's kind of like door knocking, but it's not to the same degree. You might have a smaller conversion, but at least you're starting to build that farm up, right?
And Terry has been doing that lately. Once a quarter has been doing mass mailers to all of our catchment area. It's pretty broad. But I want to do something a little bit more specific that has my contact and my face, my name on it.
Yeah.
So I liked the little thing that you had. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, yeah,
get a bunch of them printed. It's going to have to be generic because not all of them are. Is that magnetic on the back?
No, it's just
okay.
it's just a business card. It's like a bookmark. Yeah.
You could also do them so they hang on a door if you're dropping them off.
Probably will do something like that, so that I'm not interfering, because there are a lot of shift workers.
Yeah. And that's important. You don't want to piss people off, right? And that's why even cold calling will be kind of tricky too.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing, guys. So that's super cool, because if you think about it,
did you have a question there? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, especially shift workers who are running nuclear plants.
Oh,
Lisa, you can make a little, like on one side, do not disturb, and another is you Tyson, so they can use this time on the bedroom.
The do not disturb sign. Yeah.
Perfect.
I love that. And one time I was in a class and Wayne had sent that he had interrupted a shift worker and he brought them a Tim's card the next day. And they were so appreciative of that because he had woken them up accidentally from being on shift. And he's like, what do you want? I'm a shift worker. Why are you here knocking on my door? And he went right back the next day with a $20 gift card. I was like, I am so sorry. But here's something from me just to apologize, for doing that. But I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So guys, I don't want to waste a lot of your time. And now that we're like at the last end, I'm going to try to run through this quickly for you because I know that we end at 3. So we have like 15 more minutes and I'll give this information to you high level. to hopefully give you some insight as well. So like Mike mentioned, you know, in his team, whatever it is that you decide to do, I just want to leave you with whatever you decide to do, to stay consistent with that, regardless of the type of approach you take. It's better to do 1 or 2 things really freaking good than try to dabble into 5 or 6 things that you're not so great at, and you recognize that and not do it at all. So in my first year, as a newly licensed agent, every year since my first year, I've been a multiple 6-figure earning top producing agent as a solo agent on my own without being on a team. And I'm also a mom. And you have to remember, when I first started my career, guys, I had just given birth to a brand new baby and I had a toddler. So my first year as a rookie agent was a 6-figure year with 2 really small kids, trying to figure this out on my own, and had worked a part-time job. And so I do find my story a little bit inspiring for people who are trying to find ways of having a very successful business. And the one way that I've stayed consistent every single year is through what I say relationship and community building. That's it. All I do is build really solid friendships all year long. And I meet a lot of new people every year. And the way that I run my business is through database, 100% through my referrals of my database, and through building a presence in my community. And those 2 things are the 2 things that I feel that I'm the best at. And that's all I focus on. This year, I do want to dabble into learning other methods, of course, because now that I am in the community, I think I need to go door to door and meet new people. But I'll give you some examples of things that I've done in the past that have been very successful for me. So I've used Facebook as a way to set my database.
I lost her.
Just
Oh, there she is.
So I'm going to touch on database first. 1 second.
Steph, just what community? I want to stay away from it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out though.
How is it now?
It's
Good.
better now.
Okay. So I currently live in Innisfil, guys. I'm in Alcona.
Okay, good.
I'm in a new area, and I've built a very strong mom group in the 1 year that I've been here, stronger than any other mom that's lived here before I got here. Okay. So the reason I'm saying this is because, tell me if I cut out, but I've learned that it's very important to create the avatar of the person that you want to work with. Okay. As much as we try to go out and get leads and work with other people that we don't know, it's also important for us to get very specific about who we want to work with. Because the second we start advertising to the people we want to work with, we're going to get to meet their friends, right? And the people they know. And guess what? Likely those people you're going to really like too. So as an example, I do use Facebook for my sphere of influence, and I treat them like gold. That means anniversaries, birthdays, all of that gets acknowledged all year long. And I have a system set up for how I'm going to touch base with those people more than once a month. Same people. It's a lot of work, but that's lead generation. So the time that you spend on the phones or on door knocking, I'm doing the exact same amount of time just with my database. So it's very systematic, and I have a really good system that I use in my actual database itself. Like, your database is your gold. So I'm adding notes, I'm adding reminders, I'm feeding my database more than once a month. I customize my own newsletter every month. I don't use a system to make it. I'm very specific about what I want to deliver to my database because I want it to be very strong and specific. And
What
so
technology do you use for your
I use
database?
Follow Up Boss as my database, but I'm creating all of my own content in there. I don't use a system to create. So any information that I send out is curated by me.
And information, you mean like emails, text
Yes.
messages, anything like that?
It's all human. There's no system behind what I create. That's the way I like to work, because I'm kind of OCD in terms of what gets delivered and what I'm sending out. Like, I want to know what they're seeing. I don't want no system to do it for me. That's just my own personal way of working.
Also in the chat there, Steph, Nat's asking if you could share more info about your newsletter. Like, what is it you're sending out?
Yes.
Do you have
So
an
it's
example
every
of
month
one?
is different. Every month is different. So in the fall, I always do a community event, and it's specific about children and getting the kids together and building a family day. So you'll see that my newsletter is about family. Here's the thing. I don't like to talk a lot about real estate. And you'll notice that anytime I'm having a conversation with somebody, it's never about real estate. Isn't that crazy?
I love it.
But I don't talk about real estate, guys. I talk about kids are back to school. Like, send me some things you guys can tell me. And so I've created my own avatar for me is upgrading families. That's my niche, right? It's families because I can relate. So I suggest for everybody here to try to write down who's their ideal person. And from there, you can create content and ideas of what you're going to put in the newsletter. So if you're trying to target first-time home buyers, that information is going to look different in your newsletter compared to mine. So like for Christmas, I'm talking only about York Region Police and giving back. That's my one thing. Then come the new year, I'm asking people if they know how much their house is worth. Yes, I add that tidbit of real estate in there, but then I'm going into what are your New Year's goals? Here are some of mine. Right. And then again, in the spring, I'm talking about cleanup and look at the things that I'm doing at my house. So I'm bringing in value, but I'm not giving them the standard stuff that they're going to freaking see every single day and they're going to control alt delete. I want them to actually read it. And so my follow-up boss will tell me how many opens I get. Usually I can get anywhere from 70 to 80 clicks, which are people in my database that are actually reading what I'm writing.
And how many people are in your database?
I have just over 500. And the reason I keep it very small is because I don't want everybody in there. I don't. Right. I don't want a big audience. I want really solid people, but just
quality over quantity.
Quality, always quality. So that's how I run my database. So I'm touching base with them all year long. And I'm picking up the phone, I'm calling them and I'm talking about them. And I'm always bringing them to the forefront, not me. I don't ask them for business right away. That comes after the initial conversation with them, right? But just staying in front of them is very important. Social media, on the other hand, I've been using social media over the last 4 years of my career, way before people started to really get heavy on it this year. I was doing it right like my first month of getting my license. So like, that has been for the last several years. And basically with my social media, I like to document and not create. Like Gary Vee says, I do not create content. I document my delivery. So wherever I am, it's being documented, period. Document, don't create. And
so when you say document, what do you mean?
Right now, as you and I are sitting here, I've already filmed this.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Right. And so people want to see who you are behind the scenes. And you know what, guys? Here's the funny thing. I've spent so much money on photography and videography. You know what does better? My freaking iPhone picture here with taking it like this. Okay. The stuff that's not perfect gets the best engagement. That's my personal opinion and what I've seen, because I do watch to see how many likes, how many comments, what's going on with my reshare. Things that are not created always do better, right? So you don't
do you have a personal page and a business page, or do you focus your social media on your business page?
So I always have had one page, and that's because I want my clients to see who I am as a person, not as a business. I don't look at them like I'm in business first.
Right.
So
that's so interesting. I love that because I actually have both. I have a personal page and a business page, and I built my personal page because I wanted my personal page to be nothing about business. Like,
so the funny thing is, it's true to what you're saying. So when I first started in business, I had a lot of agents tell me that I was unprofessional and that it's not professional to show your children in your business. And I always did the opposite. And now 4 years later, you hear what everybody's telling you to do. But in the beginning of my career, do you know how many agents called me? They're like, it's not really professional that you're getting. That's great. Because guess what? I'm a mom and I'm going to be working with a lot of other moms. And now my niche has been that. And so what I got from that is, don't let other people tell you how to run your business. People are in it because you're a person. That's it. Not because you're that same salesperson, realtor that they're going to see and time again, and they're going to flip next. They want to see you. They want to know who you are, right?
Steph, in that community, your mom group or whatever, you meet people, you don't talk about real estate to start. How do you eventually transition to the fact that you want to work with them?
So basically what I do is I wait a long time.
Okay.
And I know this is going to sound strange, but I'll give you guys a very specific example quickly before we run off. So I last year decided that I wanted to do a program called 75 Hard. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a hell of a program. Damn.
So I finished 75 Hard, but I knew that it was going to take up a lot of my time doing this workout program. How many of us here want to work out, feel good, lead generate, be a realtor, blah, 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 and the list goes on, and we want to do it all? All of us. We want to try to get it all done, right? How do we do it all together? So I said to myself, okay, Steph, you literally only have like 4 hours a day before you need to go get your kids, and you have big goals. And you're going to walk twice a day. I had to walk twice a day to finish this program. So that's 2 hours a day that were taken from my schedule. What I decided to do was invite my neighbors to join me on those walks. Okay. So 75 Hard helped me become mentally and physically fit. And I finished all 75 days. But what I created in those 75 days was a community in Alcona of like-minded women who also needed to step out of their house and feel good. And through those 75 days, not once did I discuss real estate. They asked me what I did, but I never asked for business. But I noticed that on our 1 hour walks a day, we would add a new person. Somebody would tell another friend. Now we're at 21 moms in this little tiny area of Alcona that we all finished the program together. But what we got out of it was, imagine I'm on this walk with them now for 1 hour. Through that 1 hour, what are we doing, guys? We're passing homes. Guys, through that 1 hour, we're talking about, oh my gosh, look at that house on the lake. That's my dream. That's my goal for next year. Oh my gosh, how much did that house sell for? So indirect marketing. I wasn't thinking about selling them first. All I wanted to do was create friends, have people in my community. And through that, I had 2 listings last year, just through 75 Hard, right? Because I created a relationship, I created the rapport, and I never talked about it from the beginning. And then 75 days later, here we are with a really good friend, business, and referrals. And that's how it works, right?
So smart. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing that you might not have highlighted, but I see it in everything you do. It's so authentic. It's like, not, you don't feel like you're selling. It's just so authentic, right? It's just that you are. And that's why I put it in that group. There's a great quote by Simon Sinek. And the guy literally says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe in, essentially, right? So people naturally, like if I was a single mom, or if I was a mom of 2 children, I would naturally gravitate towards Steph because she's relating to me and I believe in what she's doing because I believe in her.
And right? That's the thing. And the thing is I make it very clear that I'm going to treat their family, guys, like my family.
Yeah.
I will never upsell them, downsell them. They are now my family, period. The same advice I would give my brother, my sister, is what I would give my friend. And they're solid. That's it now, right? So Wednesday's booked. We're taking all our kids tobogganing because every freaking mom is home going crazy right now. And guess what's going to come up? Probably a referral or how I'm going to refer to them. And this cycle just keeps going like this. And so that's why I say, if you're going to use database or social media, please be specific about who you're talking to. You don't have to talk to everybody, but if you know you can relate to somebody who's downsizing, somebody who's retiring, somebody who's a first-time buyer, speak to your audience, speak to them. Don't worry about trying to get everybody's business, right? Have an avatar. Who's your ideal person?
I love that.
And that's it.
Any questions?
Great advice, Steph.
Yeah.
And Mike, you too.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, so we found that Mike and I love listening to Mike because I tell him this all the time. He's freaking so smart when it comes to numbers, knowing, optimizing systems, models. He is
all the boring
guy,
shit.
buddy. Like if you guys want to know numbers, this is the one. He is, and he gets results. We literally get the same result. That's the thing, right? It's like, what type of personality are you, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And
And
we
it's
have
funny
very
because like
personalities.
we always say this, she's trying to be more number oriented. I'm trying to be
Yes.
more relationship. Like we're trying to be more of each other because like it's so I see the value, I see killer value in what Steph does. And it's like, I tell her all the time, I'm like, frig man, I can't even do it. I can't do it. It's like, it's so not me, but it's like, I gotta like, because if I do it, it's not authentic. And I truly believe in being authentic.
Yes.
And so I can't be authentic with that. And so it doesn't work.
And
right?
that's totally cool, right? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, you're still making your money, you're still getting the result, and you're still helping a lot of freaking people. Somebody who doesn't want to work with me might think I'm too floaty, too whatever. But you might be the type of person, guys, for the right person. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going to be everybody's person. And guess what? You're not going to want to work with that person. It's not just about getting the deal. Imagine you got to close with these people that you don't want to work with. You know, it's like not just listing them, like you got to close, and that's an energy sucker, right? So like the people that work with Mike are his personality type. And so that's why we always say, whatever you're doing, just do it like really well. Like if it's one thing or two things, great. If you want to try something else, just to open yourself up to new opportunities, there's lots to be made out there for every one of us, you know, but whatever it is you're doing, keep going. And if it's something new that we try, we learn from one another, right? Like I learned so much today from you guys about those of you who door knock and who have cold called, like a lot of different things today. So thank you all, but I hope that helps. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Not about that stuff specifically.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just gonna ask Steph a little bit more about the 75 hard once everything else is done.
Sure.
I remember when Steph, you did that.
It's funny because I get that on my TikTok every other day. I'll go on TikTok and it's like 75 hard. And I'm like, okay, let me see. And I'm like, no, frig that.
I've never heard of it.
Oh yeah.
75 hard, guys, is a really good program if you've moved and you want to discover the area that you live in, because you're walking.
Yeah. We Well, if that's
Thanks,
everything,
guys.
then I guess
That
we
was
can
amazing.
call it from there. And
what was your question, Lisa?
We can connect afterwards.
Okay, cool. Nat, are you guys okay over there?
Great. Thank you. That was informative. Motivating.
Thank you.
I know. I want to try a 40. I'm not at 45, 75.
75 hard.
I've tried it.
I know.
I could only do 5 days.
It's a very interesting program, guys. Honestly, it's tough. It really gets your mind working because you're like, how am I going to get all these tasks done? But honestly, those 75 days were the days that I amplified my business. Like I saw the best results in my business after, like in the fall. I was like smashing, boom, 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 boom. Like not physical results, but like business results because of what the work I was putting in on those first 75 days, right? You kind of see it after.
And you had a plan for your day too.
Yeah. And it like, sometimes it went to shit, you know, but like you see me freaking snow, rain, like walking outside 10:30 p.m.
Oh gosh.
You meet all the smokers, all the dog walkers, you meet all kinds of people.
You know what's funny about that, Steph, that you just mentioned that? So Rob, the guy that works here, he takes his dog out every single day, same time, 3 times a day. He'll go home at lunch, he'll take his dog out. And people, when we cold call that neighborhood, people go, oh, are you the guy that takes the golden retriever out? And he goes, yeah, I am. He goes, oh man. And he always says, well, we started talking about it. I'm like, yeah, get these people to come up to you and say, hey, you cold called me the other day, or you knocked on my door. Because believe it or not, and people will recognize you as like, oh yeah, everybody knows that one dog in their neighborhood, right? You see, and you're like, oh yeah, that's that dog, right? And
it's so true.
If you have an animal or a dog or whatever, and you take it for a walk every day, you will see the same people
if you're walking, guys.
Yeah, you'll see them.
Even yesterday, I had a lady call me. I actually had a lady that I've seen her often, and she's like, "Hey, are you that realtor? Like that realtor mom, like in our area?" I'm like, nice. Yeah, that's me. I'm that realtor mom. She's like, "I have to sell my house. I'm moving to Portugal. Can you help me?" Oh, yeah, I can.
Oh, I can't.
Coming over. Right? Like, are you that like realtor mom, like that one that like Andrea told me? I'm like, yeah, you want to be in our group? We have a group. You want to come to? Right? So it's like, it's pretty cool, right? Like to be recognized in your community as like that whatever, that dog walker, that, you know, that person. It's pretty cool. Like, and that's the thing, like we all have a community and an opportunity to play a huge impact wherever we are, right?
I remember I used to donate my blood all the time, like every 2 months. And at the blood donor, there was a guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's a realtor as well, and he donates pizza there every 2 months. He donates pizza. And so when you go to sit down at the table afterwards, when you're done donating, you have a couple snacks, whatever, and you sit down at a table. His cards are on the table, and then they come over and they say, "This pizza, here's a slice of pizza for you. It's courtesy of so and so." Right?
Wow.
And it's such a great way to get into your community, because he shows up, he donates his blood as well. And then he comes by and he talks to everybody and says, thank you so much. His nephew has like, he has to get blood all the time. Like he has to physically get it. And that's why he volunteers and he donates pizza to the blood donor, because he's very thankful that people donate.
It's so interesting.
It's a really great way to get out there in the community.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like, even too, guys, like I was noticing on social media too lately, like the realtors that are getting so much engagement, or even that are out in the public, are ones that do something different than everybody else is doing right now, right? So I think the new way of real estate is going to be, you're going to see a lot more people bring out their opinions, their value, what they want, what they believe. And we're getting a lot more vocal as realtors, instead of going and doing it the same old fashioned way where you need to fit the umbrella to service everybody. I think that's old. I think that's not the new way of real estate anymore. And so you'll see a lot more people piping up about their opinions, even though we are in an industry where we serve the public there. And I think a lot of people try to be politically correct, but if you want to really capture people that are like you, it's going to require you to come out of your shell and be honest.
Has anybody seen the guy James in the City in Toronto?
Yes.
On Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah, he's very much like that. And so he's on Instagram. He's on, I don't know if he's on Facebook or not, but he's got like he's got a personality type, and he does not give a shit if you disagree with him. And he calls you out. Like he does videos of like your rude comment of him, like he brings it up and he makes fun of you. Oh my God, it's intense. Like
people want to work with him though. Right?
Oh my God. Yeah. People definitely want to work with him. Right.
Yeah.
And he gets a lot of business from social media just because of that.
Because he's organic and he's not, and that's how, if you notice, guys, like people who become famous in any industry, they're honest and they're blunt and they're themselves. And so, yes, we need to maintain a level of professionalism, but don't dim your light. Like, don't dim your light. You know, if you think you're going to piss somebody off, say it anyways. Honestly, this past year, I was very vocal on my platforms about my beliefs. And at first I thought I would get a lot of unfollows. Guys, my following went up because I was honest about what I believe. And that's in anything, right? And so I think it's just more about like getting very specific about who your avatar is, again, who you want to work with. And then as a result, you'll get those followings, you'll get those referrals, but it's about not dimming your light and being super authentic with yourself, for sure, in any form of lead gen. But we'll wrap this up, guys, because it's 3:10. But thank you all so much for being here with us.
Thank you,
guys.
And thanks, both of you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you guys. Take care, okay?